Hi, and welcome to God in 10 Minutes. I'm Jack. We're continuing this this series of short clips that deal with different areas of study, any of which could take months or years, that prove God's reality. Can you prove God is real? Not very easy to do with regular Christian behavior, what we see in church. Even if you have a vision, I had a vision from God, and that doesn't prove God to me. If you have a couple of visions and they prophesy something's going to come true and it comes true, I can deal with that. But, all God told me, those things can't prove God to me. But if you can take a piece of evidence that's admissible in a court, that they say, yeah, you can admit that evidence under the rules of evidence, then I've got something I can believe in, okay? And that's what we're doing this for. Prove God's reality as a basis of faith. Acting in faith, in trust of whatever He said against negative circumstances. Okay? Can't trust Him you don't believe in. So we're going to deal with one prophecy today. The Gates prophecy. Happens in a couple of places. 2 times confirms, at the mouth of two a thing is confirmed. And it's the prophecy that we find in, Genesis 22, verse 17, isn't it? Yeah. 22:17. I'll throw this over a little bit closer here. 22:17. It says, blessing, I will bless thee. God talking to Abraham. And in multiplying, I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured, upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. Okay? Did that ever happen in Israel history in the Promised Land? Maybe not. Let's go to Genesis 24:60. 24:60. This is when Rebecca is starting out on the way back to Isaac after she went up to, after Eliezer went up to Haran to get Isaac a wife. Okay? And her family comes out as they're leaving, and she says, and they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of millions, stars and sand, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. Same prophecy. This is to Rebekah, the other one was to Abraham. Wow, well, they never did that in the Promised Land, did they? This promise is part of the birthright. The birthright that gets passed down to Isaac, and then to Jacob, and then to Joseph, and then to Ephraim, and all his kids on the way down to today. Okay? Firstborn gets this birthright. Well, Abraham's descendants, they get taken away, don't they? The house of Israel, the 10 northern tribes, get taken away by Assyria, and they get so-called lost to history. They're placed under the Caucasus Mountains and the Caspian and the Black Sea. Some of them go north, a big group. There's 5 or 6 million of them at that time. Big group of them go through the Caucasus Mountains and then west for centuries, winding up in northwest Europe and Britain. A bunch of them, a big group, also under the Black Sea, do the same thing. The lost tribes are Britain and Northwest Europe, and by extension the United States. Well, Ephraim gets the birthright, but they didn't possess the gates of their enemies. Ephraim didn't possess the gates of their enemies in the Promised Land. Why not? It was a birthright. They were supposed to get it because they screwed up. Yeah. You see, God says in Leviticus 26:18 that if you don't do it right, I'll punish you. You do it right, you'll get all these blessings and stuff that he enumerates. He says, if you don't, I'll punish you 7 times. Now, we don't have time to go through the whole math process with this, but 7 times turns out to be 2,520 years. It's 7 times 360 years. 7 times that. Ephraim falls. Samaria falls. The house of Israel falls. 721 BC. That's the beginning of their punishment. The beginning of the punishment, 721, 2,520 years later is where we have to look for the fulfillment of the birthright. Who got the birthright 2,500 years later? Did Ephraim get that birthright 2,500 years later? If Samaria fall in 721 BC, you add 2,500 years to that, 2,520 years to that, and you wind up at 1800 AD. Exactly when the British Empire started to blossom. Started to blossom and became the world's greatest empire ever. Okay. Also, you'll notice that the promise to Abraham and to Rebekah, thousands of millions, huge population group, is available at that particular time, right? God brought the family to Egypt to make a nation, so when they got back to the Promised Land, they could be a nation testifying to God to the rest of the nations around there. He took the house of Israel, put them over into the British Isles and Northwest Europe to become a huge population group that could minister to the whole world, tell about God's coming kingdom. At that time, stars and sand, nations ruling at the same time, kings ruling at the same time, all nations, a world empire. Okay, if we're up at a world empire, then we're on the world scale. What are the gates of the world? The gates of the world are Gibraltar, Suez, Panama Canal, Cape of Good Hope. Here's a quick look at a little chart that I made, and all of these, I think you can probably see that map, okay, but every one of those little red dots is a gateway for trade. And who owns all those gateways? Huh? Britain and the United States. Britain and the United States. The lost tribes. The lost tribes control Gibraltar and Panama and the North Sea and all that. The gates of their enemies. You know, just that one little prophecy proves God. Okay, that proves God. 2,500-year-old prophecy comes true. A whole nation could get together and make that happen, you know, but God could. Right? Wonderful stuff. The promises of God. Basis of faith. You can't trust God if you don't believe in Him, you know. And the Christian walk is just loaded with all kinds of thorns, bed of roses with thorns, right? And every time you get stuck with the thorn, you got to trust your way out of it. But if you haven't got anybody to trust, or if you don't have just a little teeny belief in God, you'll only be able to trust God a little bit to get out of the little teeny bit of stuff. What if your house burns down? That's a big one. Now how are you going to trust God? Huh? Tithing. Oh, you give away your money? Tithing. You know, you got to trust God a whole lot to give away your money. Okay, that's number 5. Number 6 is going to be a little more extensive of the prophecies, but I hope that these short little clips will give you a chance to get some study on your own. Okay, thanks for watching. God bless.